I recently had a verbal spar with a woman on one of my social media posts. The post basically said, "Only if you can be unbaptized can you be unmarried." It read underneath it, of infidelity doesn't unmarry you, addiction doesn't unmarry you, pornography doesn't unmarry you. But she took great issue with the quote that said, "Abuse doesn't unmarry you." She went off because she said, "The church doesn't teach that." Well, actually, the church does teach that. The reason I'm doing this post is she went on after that and did a very loud post in all caps and screaming that these people are dangerous. The church doesn't teach that. And so many people below her post said, "I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you." And my message is here to say to those of you, please don't trust someone just because you like them or because they are famous or because they have a lot of followers. Go to the catechism. Go to the church. So I want to do this video. I wrote a post about it, but I wanted to make sure to do this video to be specifically clear, because in her post, she went on to say, "How dare you say we should get beaten to a pulp, and that's not what God wants in my marriage." And I agreed with her. God does not want anyone beaten or abused. He does not, nor does he expect you to tolerate that. So I am here on record to say, like she said, if you are in an abusive marriage, get out of the house immediately. You are not required to be someone's punching bag. The church doesn't require it. I have never said that. I want to be on the record so that that person and anyone else who believes that type of stuff hears right from the horse's mouth, I teach domestic violence. The last thing I would do is say, stay in a domestic violence home. But here is the problem. Here is the huge difference between what she in her post and then the people who wanted to agree with her said from what I am saying. See, the difference is that woman believed that that abuse dissolved her marriage, that the church allows divorce because you're abused. It does not. And I don't want to sound harsh for any of you right now who's in that situation, because I know what it's like to want to run from a marriage. But what the church teaches and what I am talking about and what I would like for you to understand, because you don't have to answer to me, you have to answer to God, is that you are to get out of the abusive household, but that doesn't get you out of the abusive marriage. Well, what are you saying, Christine? So I get out of this abusive house and I have to be alone for the rest of my life because this man is abusive, or in some cases a woman? And my comments are, as hard as that is, as heavy of a cross as that would be, it doesn't divorce you. And you are called to carry that cross. So I'm not saying carry the cross of abuse. I'm saying carry the cross of having to be separated from your spouse physically, but knowing you're still married spiritually. So you can't go out and date. You can't go out and find someone else. You can't go out and make yourself happy, because this is a seriously heavy cross you have to carry. And I don't know how many other crosses are heavier than that. And I'm so sorry. But the church teaches that you are to get out, get safe, get separated, but work towards the potential of getting reconciled. It doesn't mean that you will sadly get reconciled. Many of you will go to your grave having stood for your marriage, understanding that as much as you wanted to get out of it, as much as you would have liked to marry a second spouse, you didn't have the freedom because you had a spouse. You have an abusive spouse who's living in a separate house from you. Doesn't matter if he or she divorces you. You know that you're still married in the eyes of God. You know that abuse doesn't divorce you. So as hard as this post may be, I just needed to clarify so that no one can come back and say what this woman said, which was, you're ridiculous. You're telling me I have to stay in this abusive house. She didn't hear, but I know that was out of her own pain. I know that was because of what she had to live through. But that doesn't mean that I'm wrong. And it doesn't mean I need to back down. And it doesn't mean that because some of you are watching this thinking, Christine, I hate what you're saying, that I have to be soft or lie or cushion the truth for you. Now, the good news is, I've worked with couples that have done this, have been extremely abusive, separated, were apart for years. The abuser got help. The couple reconciled years later, and they went on to have a happy, long-term, and thriving marriage. We have an unforgiving society. We have a society that likes to say no abuser can redeem him or herself. You're wrong. Because if you've ever made a sin or a mistake and you say that this person can't be redeemed, that is the same as saying you can't be redeemed. Because you're judging that his or her sin is bigger than your own. Abuse is just too big of a sin to be redeemed from. No, it's not. And if you want to talk to me about abuse and what causes it and what ends it, give me a call. I'll share that information with you. Because I have seen many abusers go on to have reconciled lives, changed hearts, changed behaviors, extreme remorse. So I'm sorry if you don't like what I have to say. I know you can change. I don't define you by your mistakes. I changed. And I hope you don't define me by mine. If you do, it doesn't matter. Because the only one whose judgment matters to me is his. So, sorry that I had to give you the painful truth. But now that you know, go on out and fight for your marriage.